Child slavery. I bet you thought it only happens somewhere else. Think again. Trafficked children have been found in every single local area in the UK, including yours. Child slavery is closer than you think. Let's stop slavery together.
Human trafficking is the selling and recruitment of people for sexual exploitation and forced labor for very little or no pay. It is a very profitable activity that takes advantage of people both physically and mentally. For example, it forces people into extreme amounts of work, often including activities with sexual intent. However, this terrifying reality for countless victims has been overlooked and not resolved. Laws in the UK have not done enough to prevent human trafficking because of their poor process of NRM. A majority of victims are children, and finally, victims of other countries are falling to trafficking in the UK. To start, the National Referral Mechanism, or NRM for short, has not done enough to support victims of human trafficking. The NRM is the UK's organization that has the purpose of supporting human trafficking victims. The following data from IOM UN Migration provides ample evidence to why the NRM has not done enough to help these certain victims. According to an article entitled Analysis of NRM Data, published in IOM UN Migration, UK, potential victims of modern slavery wait 10 times longer than the 5-day target to receive an initial decision. This leaves individuals without specialist support for longer, meaning they are more vulnerable to re-trafficking. IOM 2024.
1 in 3 trafficked children went missing from local authority care in England in 2020, a total of 378 trafficked children that year. That's up from 284 in 2018, a rise of 34%. In London, numbers have gone up too. 54 children went missing in 2018. In 2020, that number rose to 88.
Not only are the trafficking victims not fully being helped, but these victims are also fearing for their lives. The following source from The Guardian explains how several children are fearing that they will fall back into the hands of their abusers. In the following article, and quote, more than 1,500 child trafficking victims in the UK feared back with exploiters, by Diane Taylor, published by The Guardian, quote, we know that the NRM does not sufficiently protect children victims of criminal exploitation, end quote. This shows further that the UK laws are not doing enough to help trafficking victims, specifically for children, and unfortunately this makes the NRM less effective because it doesn't account for the high amount of children being trafficked.
So I asked this young man who was trafficked into the country when he was 12.
I have an idea why they go missing. Some carers don't actually care. They just care about what they receive from the government and the allowance, and it feels like they're working for the government, not for us. So imagine you're a trafficking victim, you just want to move or go missing. And I know people who can't live on what the government gives them. They get paid more to work for the trafficker, so they go there.
Finally, there have been victims from all around the world that have suffered from human trafficking in the UK. The following source explains the true story of a human trafficking victim from Lithuania, which makes this document very sensitive and very sad. The victim, referred to as Alberto in order to protect the victim's real name, was sold into human trafficking in the UK, only 17 years of age when he became a victim. Adding on, he is very vulnerable because of his epilepsy. According to the article of Alberto's story, published by Their Voice, quote, when 2 men came into the village looking for young men to work abroad in the UK, all travel expenses covered, good wages, and working conditions, Alberto grasped the opportunity. Upon arrival, he started working at 7:30 a.m. each day, working all day with no breaks 7 days a week, end quote. The UK has accounted for several different victims that are often sold back into trafficking, and if this isn't prevented soon, then several more people will become victims due to the poor handling of human trafficking sales. In conclusion, the UK has been hurting more victims of human trafficking instead of helping them. To start, their policy of NRM has clearly not been very effective. Adding on, this policy isn't even inclusive to all. It is often leaving out women and children. Lastly, the UK's inefficient laws have affected people from all around the world. However, there is still hope in preventing this. If you yourself or if you know anyone that has been a victim of human trafficking, help is available. You can call the Human Trafficking Hotline at 888-373-7888. January is National Human Trafficking Prevention Month, so always remember you are not alone.